Hmm.
Oh boy.
Technically, this house does have multiple music boxes playing, but there's one playing in here, one playing outside, and one playing in the chapel. But you
Yeah.
can't guess the one playing in the chapel.
Yeah.
It's freaking Red Diamond, obviously.
Hmm.
Oh,
Let's talk about the one that was actually. Oh my god! Thank you. Hi. Let's talk about the one that actually was supposed to be in this game.
Uh-oh. Accidentally hit button. There we go.
yeah. Oh, tonight, ESO lore. The Peace Races. And like Mark was saying, which one was supposed to be in this game?
The Lifnmoti. We actually had concept art for them to actually be in this game when we got Black Rose and Liftmuff.
Yeah, they got wiped out by the Connaughton flu, though.
There were still ones around the time of this game where we have mentions of them still being around near Black Rose, but just not showing up in our game.
Mm-hmm. The issue is there's only one in-game book that gives us any kind of lore on these people, so we don't really know a ton about them. And it's an Argonian book, so it's not even like one of their books.
Yeah, that's the only problem about them. Or they used to live down in Black Marsh, then they got moved up, and then just eventually wiped out by the flu.
Okay, so Black Rose Prison was actually a Lomofti settlement.
Yeah, both
Too.
them and Lifmoti, or Lifmoth, were both
Yeah, yeah.
areas
The
there.
Black Rose Prison was kind of interesting. I guess it probably wasn't a prison though when they had it. And it's interesting because I've always thought they were a dog race. They're actually a fox race.
Yeah, they're more fox, but, you know, fox is also canine, technically, so technically a
Yeah.
dog race.
But there's just not a ton of info on them. The concept art's kind of cool looking at it here. But,
Yeah, it would have been a cool race to interact with, just for questing-wise.
mm-hmm.
Like, I wish we got them, but we might get them in the future.
Well,
Just
I mean,
as
we
a
got the
mention.
we got the silver skin people of Black Marsh. Uh,
Oh, we don't talk about the zombie people, okay?
yeah, but we have them at least.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, even the lore page on the wiki doesn't have almost anything on these people. They were nomadic. That's interesting. Especially in the swamps. You don't want to really be nomadic in the swamps. The Argonians aren't even nomadic in the swamps.
The weird thing is, that book that we got in Oblivion was the first time they actually got mentioned. And then people just kept reusing that book for Skyrim, and then we got another mention over in Murkmire when we got that DLC. So it's kind of very elusive when it comes to all their lore.
Yeah. The thing is we know they were a thing. We know that they were a thing recently. Because even in this book I'm looking at, that is actually in this game, I need to go track this book down and look at it. It's called The Gift of Lomafit, and it's literally the title of it. It's a story of an Argonian hatchling in a Lomafit kit, which I'm assuming is a baby, because a kit baby fox.
It's probably more of a group than an actual one, because by itself, if you're reading that, they use the word kit as plural, just from that description.
Well, what I'm saying is this looks to be a work of not of fiction, too. It doesn't look to be nonfiction. It looks to be just a story. So really, it's not. I mean, it can definitely give us hints as to what the little Muffy were about, but it's not going to be accurate 100%.
Yeah, that is true. That was one of the races here that we should have at least mentioned. Same thing with... Oh man, the one that was also supposed to be in this game. The Great Apes of Valenwood. Until they got lazy and said, nah, we're not going to include them.
Yeah.
That'd be too much work.
The Imgas. We've had concept
or the
art of them.
Imnakin, as their full name is.
Yeah, yeah. We've had concept art on them from before ESO, which is interesting. And we even have certain
all the way back in Daggerfall,
ones.
And then we had mentions of them.
We even have named individuals of the race, which is interesting. Because a lot of these other ones,
they don't even go that far.
Like Maruk, the monkey prophet. Really going literal there.
Reading through this real quick. Yeah. So the Imga actually were people. The Fallen Esti were Imgas, interesting enough. I never made that connection. I need to go back and do those quests too, apparently. Yeah, they even had, during the Comoran dynasty, there was an Imga named Maruk, which was a prophet. So, yeah, these people actually have a little bit of history behind them.
We have a holiday named after him.
Yeah.
The 9th of the second seed.
Interesting. Here it says on the wiki too, it says the ape men also reportedly found in mountainous areas west and north of Tamriel. Seldom encountered in the east, but the Dunmer keep ape men as slaves, though not in as great numbers as Argonians. So apparently, we need to go take a visit to the Sylvanas and see if they have any monkey slaves.
Oh, we would have seen them by now.
Oh, yeah, we would have.
Oh, yeah.
And we would have freaked the hell out because we would actually get to see them for the first time. And also the wiki would say, hey, yo, there's some of these here.
They would be pointing them out immediately.
Yeah.
We'd be like, whoa, hold on.
They actually gave us concept.
The beast races are just, some of the lesser known ones are just so hard to talk about because though we have some on them, there's not a ton on them. They're not as interesting as the fully fleshed out races. They're interesting in their own right. We just don't have like history and what they worshipped and their powers, you know.
Yeah, but some of these beast races are straight up would be the coolest concepts if we actually got them in game, like what they were supposed to be.
Well, I mean, look how much character the Argonians have as a fully fleshed out race, and they're a beast race.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the Lifmoti were actually supposed to probably be, I don't know, villains, because we do a lot of Argonian quests. Probably had to kill a few of them, which would be sad, because they're almost extinct by the time of this game, but hey.
I'm a Nord, I have no problem with purging races.
Oh god, okay, so because we're gonna have to talk about Alessia eventually, should we talk about the Minotaurs?
Yeah, I do know a little bit about the Minotaurs off the wiki too. What's interesting is the Minotaurs used to be sentient. They were like...
They did?
Yeah, Alessia freaking had a baby with one.
Yep.
Morehouse!
Yeah, that was actually one of the quest lines I was doing.
Yeah, so something between the birth of the Alessian Empire and now has made them less sentient. Because a lot of Alessia's first guard is even said to have been Minotaurs. And Minotaurs were created by Kine from Kinnereth. Morehouse, obviously, you already said, being one of the first Minotaurs. And being literally called being the child of Kinnereth. That's where the hide of Mora House comes from, which is an Adric item. Cool enough. It was in. I know it was in Skyrim after they did all the Creation Club content, and they've confirmed the Creation Club content's canonized. And it was in. It was in Elder Scrolls 3 as well, I believe. But I can't remember. Lord's Mail is what it's actually called. I believe that was Morehouse's chess piece.
Oh yeah, that thing. I loved using that thing.
Let me double check that while we continue talking.
Though.
Don't want to give false
the
information.
breastplate that we yeah, I think you got the breastplate and then the horn, right?
The horn.
Or is that the Minotaur? No, that's the Minotaur Slayer.
Yeah, the Lord's Mail is worn by Morehouse at Demigod. Yeah, so it's actually not made of. Two of the metals it's made out of isn't metals we actually have in any game either, which is interesting. It's made from adamantium and mithril and ebony.
Mithril is one of those things that does not appear often, but at the exact same time, we know it exists, but just doesn't get made out of a lot of things.
Yeah.
I am not seeing anything about how they have kind of went unintelligent. Okay, I'm gonna say this. It's probably something stupid.
No, it's a quest out in the Gold Coast. You do something and you talk to this researcher, and he says sometime between the first era when the first empire was founded and now something happened, and his theory was so the Lord's Mail actually gets taken from Morehouse by Kennereth, and he assumes, whether correctly or incorrectly, that her taking the Lord's Mail from Morehouse was like a sundering of intelligence from the race itself.
That could be it, if it was a sudden change like that.
Because they were Kennereth's offspring. So, I don't know if it was an instant change, but it could have happened. I don't know. Either way, the big thing about the Minotaurs is they were sentient, and they are still to an extent sentient, but they're a lot more bestial now than they used to be. Because they used to walk the streets of the Imperial City and be like just a normal beast race.
And if you think about it, throughout how our games go, right now, in the second era, we still have Minotaur Shaman.
Yes, yeah, and they're still like forming tribal groups. You can see it a lot.
But by the time you get to Oblivion,
yeah, they're all just brutes.
They're pretty much brutes, and the only time you ever see them grouped up is around the unicorn.
Yeah.
So that's where it's like, yeah, no, they only progress further and further away from sentience.
Yeah, it's a gradual thing, definitely.
Yeah.
As I was going to say, it could be something like, for example, no,
I'm sorry.
It could be just them losing intelligence over time, where they don't get taught anything, so they start becoming more brutish.
Yeah, but even your very remote Argonian tribes that don't do a lot of teaching don't revert like that.
You gotta consider they they have no magic by the time, yeah, they were earlier games and stuff like that, but if you look at, this is the second era, and by the third and fourth era, they got no magic no more.
I should look here. Yeah, they're magic.
They
cool.
they grab whatever weapons around them. They don't even have their their armor that they have right now, because they still have somewhat of little bit of armor.
Look here. Yeah, so apparently they have magic in Oblivion. I've never seen one cast magic.
Never.
How?
I've never seen
It
It's
says
like
they have the disintegrate health, 20 points on touch, and disintegrate armor, 200 points on touch spell. But their magic is only 20, so there's no way they can cast that.
it
Yeah.
might have been a cut feature from them.
Could have been. Either way, by their magic being only 20, yeah, they're definitely.
There's a
brought their
lot of
magic
cut
and
features from that game.
Considering that these guys out here are throwing magma in volcano skulls.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's nothing really notable about the ones either in Oblivion.
Yeah. So, it's one of those, they only get worse.
Yeah, definitely.
But, I mean, we could bring up the Slode for a moment.
The Slode are interesting too.
That's... oh man.
Because
Talk about
they
a-
are your.
People that everybody was pissed at, and still is probably pissed at, just because of the fact of the legends of them causing that damn flu.
Yeah. The Slode are your quintessential, like, bad guys in this game, really. Coming from Thras, which is out past, or southwest? Yeah, southwest. So that would be out past Somerset.
Hold on, gotta get out my map, I remember where it is.
Yeah.
It's
they're out
not...
past.
it's not south of Somerset, it's north.
It says southwest of the chain, which apparently is a set of islands.
It's supposed to be around right next to Struss Mackay. It's supposed to be. It's probably moved lore-wise.
Yeah. So the Slode are interesting too.
No, it's
'Cause
northwest.
They are an example of the opposite of the Minotaur. They're ones that have gotten more intelligent over time, because they're known as some masters of necromancy. They make their children into soap. Fun fact.
Huh?
That's actually a part of the year. That's Slode soap. That's actually made from Slode children. It has necromantic properties for rituals, dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
Children? Or the thing that shall not be named?
No. They make the Slode soap out of children.
Okay.
Out of
Good.
Slode children.
Good. It's not the other thing. But also, what the hell?
Yeah, so it's also worth noting, too, at some point, Mana Marco also spoke with the Slode, which is why he could have got so grossly good at necromancy so quickly. Like, he's obviously good at necromancy already, but he doesn't get the god-level power until later. And we see that in Oblivion. Definitely.
Oh. Also
Yeah, right
a
here.
bunch of stuff
Talking
here.
about Slode soap. It says the larva and polywiggle stage of the Slode are taken at birth and sometimes collected by mature
No,
Slode.
you
used
said
in the
polywag,
creation-
right?
It's polywiggle. Polwygle.
When talking about
Polywiggle.
polywag, the Y and the G is silent.
Okay. So it's just polygl.
That is a tadpole, basically, for a...
No, yeah,
Toad.
yeah. Yeah. But it says they're taken by the mature sload and then turned into a potent and rare alchemical ingredient known
Well,
as
no
sload soap.
wonder your race is dying, you stupid motherfucker.
It's a sload soap.
Sir, your race is dying. Stop making your children into soap.
Poppers, though.
Okay, we don't bring that up. This is
No.
different. They're using it
In,
as soap, not a thing to eat.
In Elder Scrolls 3, we bring 5 samples of sload soap to Neloth. Of course Neloth wants sload soap.
I remember that quest and I hate it. Thank you. Have a nice day.
You hate it even more.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful. Some pretty powerful effects too on it. But yeah, that's a little interesting thing about the slope is they soapify their children. But
They
yeah,
turn their
powerful-
children into soap.
powerful necromancers. We know they talk to the Daedra as well. So like they're a whole beast race. Like they're their own thing. We just don't see them a lot because they're not a lot of times on mainland Tamriel. They normally stay over on Thras. Because when they do come to mainland Tamriel, it's like apocalypse event, like everyone hunts them down. Because people know how dangerous they are.
Also, one fun thing is they have a imitation tower called the Coral Tower.
Yeah. Yeah, they're really strong spellcasters and everything, which is interesting. That they have come so far. Race.
Yeah. We
We
can go.
Yeah, we
for-
see. One second. We see in ESO that when they come to Somerset over to freaking what's oh my god.
I believe we find them in Somerset and Ascending Tide, which should be
We do. We see them in
Galen.
Somerset in the that's a dungeon. Where's the trial here? Either way, they're on the trial from Somerset too. And that's like one of the main antagonists. There's actually a world boss one too. So yeah, they got some juju behind
Oh
them.
yeah, I forgot about that world quest.
But yeah, they're the reason for the Connaught flu too as well. I know we've mentioned that in passing, but that's something interesting too.
Knots and Flu was basically them saying, "Here, have this, yeet!" It knocked out about 70% of all mortal races.
And then they gave us Corona beer.
The good old Corona beer.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and they're responsible for the extinction of a couple of those races too because of that flu. So
There's a lot of races in Black Marsh that got absolutely slapped.
yeah, because they're so.
Speaking of one of the races that was supposedly completely wiped out by one of those, what about the Birdmen?
The Birdmen? Oh man. Okay, so this one is very, very, I'll say controversial because we don't know if it actually existed. Because Topol could have been making the entire thing up.
Yeah, screw those elves.
But they're called... Thank you. They're called the Birdmen of Cyrodiil. They inhabited the old gigantic island in the middle of Cyrodiil. And apparently, personally gave that island to Topol, who then gave it to the Central Elves, or the aliens. And apparently they were just kind of there. We have no more information because, yeah.
They got.
We don't know what happened. They lived in the jungles of Cyrodiil. Yes, there's a jungle in Cyrodiil. Shut it.
Yeah,
You don't get to see it in the games because... Damn it, Tiber Septum.
who's not born yet, but that's where I'm talking about. Yeah.
There's a passing reference of him annihilating the jungle with the
Yeah.
damn gigantic mech.
Yeah, but you almost wonder in passing too if Topol was calling harpies birdmen.
That is also true. It could have been harpies, because we've seen them speak.
Yeah, because harpies are sentient
Races
They're
of
SRPs
men
to a
in
race.
Mer.
I
But
would almost group the birdmen and the harpies together, really, because we have nothing on the
That could have
birdmen.
been-
We have very little on harpies.
okay, it could have been a precursor race. There you go.
Could have been.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
I
I've
was
been
gonna-
thinking the entire time I sat there looking at it. I'm like, it could be a precursor race of harpies, but I don't think we see harpies in bottom of Cyrodiil.
You see harpies
Unless-
almost everywhere.
I don't remember seeing them there. At least the last time I was in Cyrodiil area.
South Cyrodiil? What's down there?
Not a lot.
Elsewhere? It's like, yeah, it's the Elsewhere area. Heck yeah, there's harpies down
Oh
there.
yeah, no, they could have got pushed down into elsewhere.
No, we get a little bit of harpies. You get different variants of harpies. Is the
Yeah.
big thing. It's also the feathering is changed per region.
That is
there's
also
even-
true.
There's even harpies up in Skyrim.
Yeah, we don't get to see them.
You do in some of the
Oh, oh.
dungeons up there.
Some of the dungeons now, like in
Mainline
you'll see 'em, but
Skyrim, they
have-
just said no. Sorry,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
we're not gonna put them
Yeah,
up there.
no.
That's one more race that we're not going to make. That should be
Well,
canonically up there.
Let's be real. We ran these dungeons so many times, we probably annihilated the population.
Yeah, that is true. We've probably killed single-handed. Oh, speaking of annihilating the population, want to talk about dragons?
Yeah. I think Battle Roar could speak about,
That
Yeah,
transition
his-
was better
his
than
former
anything you
enemy.
could ever say.
his former
The-
enemy. And his
The
little
dragons are a unique case because the dragons are an ancient race. They're even older than the Malmer or in the elves because they were the children of Akatosh. Alduin being the first, the world eater. They are spellcasters. Fun enough, a lot of people are like, "Oh no, they just breathe fire." Yeah, that's a spell. They're shouting.
They are
So they're
so
spellcasters.
good at spellcasting that they can just say it by, breathing. That is how good of a spellcaster we're talking about.
Yeah. So
Think Iroh from that
Interestingly
one
enough-
episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender where he breathes fire. There you go.
yeah, interestingly enough, too, in Skyrim, specifically, if you hit them with enough drain magic poisons and drain magic, like maybe on your sword or something, they can't shout anymore. So yeah, they have magic pools. They're mages.
They're
Very,
just
very
really
powerful
heavy
ones.
magic pools,
Yeah,
just from how much
But-
magic they cast.
and another interesting thing about the dragons is the magic they cast spans every school of magic, and then some we don't even know. Because we've seen dragons that obviously breathe the elements. We've seen ones that can drain health, magic, stamina from you. We've seen some that can raise the dead with their shouts. The big example of that is in the Soul Karen, the dragon that's stuck there. Darnavir.
Durnavir, yeah, I was about to say I don't
Durnavir.
remember that name.
He bargained his soul, which is not very smart for a dragon to do. He claims he got tricked. But because a dragon's soul's immortal, as we see from Alduin raising the dragons, because their souls weren't absorbed by the Dragonborn, so he was able to call their souls back to their bodies. So, dragons are immortal unless you take their soul, which is why the Dragonborn is so important in Skyrim, and why a Dragonborn Emperor was important for a long time. Because you can kill a dragon's body, but if you don't kill its soul, it can be resurrected by another dragon.
Now, here's the question that people have been asking since 2011. Do you think if the Dragonborn dies, it would release all those souls and he could actually raise them from the dead? Because we have never heard anything about that.
I don't think so, because whenever you obtain a dragon soul, and obviously I'm just going off the games here, you consume it to learn its knowledge. I think it's consumed. Possibly if you had some like unused ones, I don't know, but the reason the Dragonborn can learn shouts so quickly is because he absorbs the souls to absorb the knowledge that dragon had. And that's why so many Dragonborns throughout history are just OP broken.
That is also true.
Yeah. So Tiber Septim, who gets born here in about 60 years, is Dragonborn. And he's one of the last ones that it matters that he's Dragonborn. Because he fights off some dragons and stuff. But then between that and Skyrim, which is what, 2,000 years roughly? 1,000, 1,500? We have Dragonborn emperors, Martin Septim being one, but they don't ever have to use their actual Dragonborn powers, so they become complacent, and that's what kind of causes oblivion. No, they're not loyal or
Yeah,
true
the
to
entire
the
third
Dragonborns.
era is basically, okay, cool, no threats, have a nice day, we're just going to sit here.
Yeah. But the dragons themselves as a beast race are a very, very most ancient, the most ancient race. If you're going by like quote unquote mortal immortal standards, they're one of the most ancient races in Tamriel. And one of the most intelligent. And one of the most long lived. They live longer than elves. And power wise they can become devastating. Just devastating.
Also, one of those races that could honestly be on Akavir still.
Yes, yeah. Another interesting thing is
Akavir is named the Dragonlands, of course.
When you talk to Parthenax, you also learn too that a dragon is born to dominate. So they're naturally not good beings. Even the one you work with in Southern Elsewhere, in the DLC there in this game, he allies himself with you because it is in his best interest, not because he wants to help you. So as far as I know, Parthenax is the only truly good dragon. Because you think of all the other ones that you work with in Skyrim, they're getting something out of it. Durnavir gets to escape the Soul Cairn, be it for brief moments of time. So he lets you summon him for escaping the Soul Cairn. So he's getting something out of it. Odahviing, the one you trap in Dragon's Reach, he gets to not get killed by the Dragonborn. So
until he tries to kill the Dragonborn like an idiot, and then gets sliced.
Yeah, so so dragons are not good nor evil. They're just evil, naturally evil. By our standards, to be fair, they are what we would call evil. That's why we had the dragon cult, and how the dragon priests were all feared because they worship the dragons and have the power of dragons behind them. Dragons essentially view mortals as not important, as just blips on the radar.
Well,
Because
they are.
consider themselves, because their dragons are immortal. They're greater beings, technically.
Compared to any immortal being, they're going to see a human or even a Myrrh as blips on time. Myrrh a bit less, because Myrrh can literally live for 200, 300 years. Especially the High Elves, who are supposed to be very, very long-lived.
Yeah, but dragons view men as to be dominated. So, and that's why every time dragons show up, it's such a disaster scenario with dragon breaks and stuff like that. And like us accidentally releasing them and elsewhere in this game. That's why it's terrible. Because they are a terrible, powerful race. Also, one of my favorite quotes from any of the Elder Scrolls games comes from Parthenax, which is a dragon. And it's Tivo Amativ. time flows ever onward, which just shows you how much time matters to him. It doesn't. He's like, when you ask him the question or whatever about what would happen if you failed, he just says, time flows ever onward. He's like, nothing's going to change for me. You know, you might be screwed, but I'll be fine.
All of
But yeah.
humanity and mermanity might be screwed, but I...
But yeah, so that just shows you dragons how little they care for humans. Were even Parthenax, who cared about humans and wanted you to win, he was just like, hey, if you lose, it don't no skin off my teeth. You know, I'll be fine. Mm-hmm. I may get some repercussions from my brother Alduin over here, but like, he's not going to kill me.
He's just going to scowl at you like you're a bitch.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's about all you need to know on dragons. Is they're very powerful. Their shouts are actually magic. They're not just a power, or like in any other fantasy setting where they can just breathe fire because they can breathe fire. They're actually casting magic, and they're naturally evil. Naturally meant to dominate. Naturally meant to be evil. So yeah, that's your takeaways on the dragons.
So we were speaking earlier on the Minotaurs, and I thought we should have mentioned how the giants were the same way.
Yes, there's even Nords who still have giant blood in their bloodlines.
Lydia!
Yeah. Not Lydia. I'm talking about Lyris.
Lyris, yeah.
Lyris.
Everybody called her Lydia until they heard the name, and they're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, Lyris has giant blood. Her dad had even more than him, obviously. And it even says in Skyrim in a book that there's still a lot of bloodlines of Nords that have giant blood in them. And normally you can tell, obviously you can't tell in Skyrim because it's not like
yeah, they're
crazy
the
accurate.
exact same sizes as every other race.
But there are still bloodlines of Nords who are very big compared to normal Nords, which are still really big.
And like Wolfgar's character he is partial Nord, partial giant.
Yeah, my backstory
how he sits in the chair.
Yeah, my backstory on my character. Yeah, I love my backstory on this character. Gotta make you a good backstory. You don't play a character for 10 years like I have this one.
Oh, I had a backstory for one of my characters, and I'm like, you know what? Let me not transfer this over from not Oblivion, not Skyrim, but bloody Morrowind.
Yeah, I started in Oblivion with old Wolfgar the Heavy.
I started in Daggerfall.
But yeah, one interesting, notable exception to the giants, they can still cast magic in this game as well. But they lose the ability by the time Skyrim rolls around, just like the Minotaurs.
The only magic casters that we can count from Skyrim of giants is actually
Karstag.
Karstag, yep.
He's a frost giant, which is another interesting little tidbit. There are different kinds of giants. They are sea giants, frost giants, and then the giants you see on mainland Skyrim.
I don't think we've ever seen a sea giant when it comes to
anything outside of Elder Scroll Online. We haven't. They are all in this game. Kind's Aegis as you're fighting a sea giant invasion.
That is also true. There are sea giants in this game.
And they have a full, like, giants have a full hierarchy in this game. They are a civilization just like a people civilization. And I would even argue at this point they could just be counted as a race of Tamriel. But by the time Oblivion and Skyrim roll around, they're definitely a beast race. They've lost enough intelligence where they're not sentient enough. But
isn't this one Giant's Crush where we actually have to talk to a giant and get kicked in?
In this game?
Or is that Skyrim?
Well, you're never able to talk to a giant in Skyrim. The only time you're able to even approach one without getting attacked is when it's the peaceful giant walking the cow, the random event encounter.
Yeah, so it is this one where we talk to the giant and then enter into because he punts us over the gate.
Yeah, Oh yeah, no. You talk to the
Yeah,
giant.
yeah.
You talk to a few giants in this game.
Oh,
So
you mean
giants at
that
this
one?
point are
Yeah.
still sentient.
Yeah.
Especially the sea giants in this game are
Mhm.
very sentient because they allied themselves with the gray, the whatever the group is. I don't want to say the Gray March. That's freaking Yagalag's thing. The werewolves and vampires that we fight in the Dark Heart of Skyrim. They allied themselves with them. So like they're sentient enough to know, you know, and especially some of the giants you fight in Kind's Aegis are some of the more dangerous characters in that trial too, funny enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, the giants at this point are a sentient race, much like the Minotaurs. I'd even go as far as say they're more sentient right now than the Minotaurs are at this point. But they do lose that by the time Skyrim rolls around. As we see by, they no longer cast magic. They're very territorial. They get testy when you get close to them, and they just swing their clubs around.
They still keep their mammoth pets though.
Oh yeah, they still herd their mammoths. So there's still a little bit, like with the Minotaurs, there's still a little bit there, but it's not enough to consider them an actual race.
Yeah.
A sentient race anymore.
More beast than sentient.
Yeah, they're kind of one of those races that gets kicked to the side just because of the fact they're not very intelligent anymore, even though we've literally seen them be intelligent when it comes to being Nordic blood.
Yeah, y'all keep discussing. I'll be back in like 30 seconds. There's someone knocking on the door.
Don't worry about it. It's the perfect time to have an honorable mention. Because I forgot about this one existing. The nymphs. AKA that thing that got very much taken away because, oh, man. In Daggerfall, they decided to add what is called a nymph, which is basically just a succubus, if you know monster lore. And it never returned or ever got mentioned in any other game possible, because the nymph would straight up just have no shirt on and had titties hanging out.
And yeah, that was about the times too.
And they have never been mentioned ever again.
Especially since graphics. But I was actually thinking when he gets back, because he could probably
Somebody's
elaborate
modded them into Oblivion.
Ooh.
But that's about
Not
it.
surprised. But I was thinking a weird one that's actually more sentient than we actually would think.
Lamia.
Is the Spriggans.
Oh yeah, the Spriggans are also technically
if
beast
you get
race.
into the High Isle, Atmora, and Galen, there's even a whole different, like
they basically just
elaborate
worship
more on
the
this,
earth bones,
but
like heavily.
well, you're talking about, you're seeing giant ancient Spriggans walking around, just roaming in Atmora with other groups around them. So, and you know they could command the animal, and they kind of like they are in groups of two. You know what I mean?
That is true. They're actually one of the more terrifying creatures in this game. Especially in Skyrim when you have to deal with them because they are overtuned.
Oh yeah. Here they're not as much of a threat, but even like some of them with the ancient ones and stuff like that get a little bit spicy. Because you're talking about pretty much a giant-sized Spriggan walking around. But like I said, we could probably take a 2-minute, 3-minute break, get a refill, all that.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going to
Yeah.
have a refill.
Yeah, go for it.
But we were also talking about the Spriggans,
Spriggans are interesting as well.
especially since they have the ones of Atmora and High Isle that are brought up, and the ancient Spriggans that are roaming around.
Mm-hmm.
You want to elaborate more?
Yeah, I equate Spriggans to elementals more than I do to a beast race, but they are a beast race technically. Very much tied to nature. A lot of their body parts are used in different rituals from the Reachman. So they obviously have very strong ties to nature.
But like in Atmora and all, in Galen, how they roam together, how you have the ancient Spriggans and the small Spriggans.
Yeah.
Usually you get packs of them as well.
Yes. Yeah. They also appear around places that are very in tune with nature. They don't like cities, obviously, for obvious reasons, I'm sure. Yeah, Spriggans are interesting. We don't have a ton on them other than they're just like an enemy type. Lurchers. Lurchers are corrupted Spriggans. That's an interesting thing to bring up. Because the Lurchers, there's a lot of different ways to make Lurchers. It's just how you corrupt your Spriggan, I guess. Take your poison, pick the way you corrupt your Spriggan. You also have really powerful Spriggans like Narzane, the one found in Shipwright's Regret. So yeah, there's some strong Spriggans out there. They're not just like the ones you think with the roots. Some of them have friggin' legs. In Elder Scrolls Online, at least. And they can summon.
Talking about the ancient ones.
Yeah, and then they can summon beasts and animals to help them fight. And obviously heal them.
We have two of these that could be honorable mention status because of the fact we don't know a lot about them. Technically three, but we saved that for a video all about that continent. Talk about the two most weird races we know in lore, but we need to see in game because, damn it, give us bloody Akavir game. The Tang Mo and the Capo Tung. Tang Mo being literal monkey people, and the Capo Tung just being a certain race of Khajiit giants, basically, because they're large.
Yeah.
Like, even larger than Nords. It's like if a saber cat just started walking on two legs. Like, they're supposed to be bulky.
Yeah, then like you said, there's barely any information on them. Because
Like,
they are.
I could imagine the Tang Mo being led by Sun Wukong. Please don't do that. I swear to God, I'll quit this entire damn game if you do that. Bethesda, don't! But we actually know the leader of the Capo Tung. Tolsharaka. He was apparently supposed to turn into a dragon. And it is a tiger skin where he has scales, but he's colorized as a damn tiger. Which could be the most terrifying boss fight.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that, we could have actually saw that boss fight if we got the original thing of Skyrim. Because originally, the super old one that we got was the first story that we're going to get in Skyrim, which was going to be Elder Scrolls V, was going to be an invasion from Akavir. And we could have actually saw that if he took over all of the continent and used, like, all of the races from Akavir.
Yeah, I think we need an Akavir. I think we need to go to Akavir or Atmora. We can go to Atmora still at this time.
Atmora would be one of those games that had to be set in the past, not fourth era, because, oh dear heavens,
Yeah.
sir, you're going to a polar ice cap in the fourth era. The second era, at least it's livable polar
Yeah, I
ice
wanna-
cap. Think Canada,
I
but
wanna
more
learn about
terrifying.
The Kamal. That's what I
Kamal
wanna go
would
to
also
Atmora.
be fun to... No?
Which are not a
Kamal?
beast race.
Kamal are from...
They're from Atmora.
No,
I thought they were.
they're from Akavir.
Oh, they were from Atmora.
The snow
Those are-
demons of Akavir.
I thought they were the snow demons of Atmora.
They've went to Admora, apparently. Because we've had more mentions of it, but... Maybe a few stayed and settled and became the snow demons
Oh,
of
yeah.
Atmora. We never know.
Oh yeah, you're right, Akavir.
We all back?
Yes.
Still good.
But after I do this...
Alright.
So we either talk about the Lamia or the Dredge.
Lamia first, there's less on them.
True.
Or actually, since we did the Spriggans, the fawn that we were talking about pre-start out in the deer people, Vavor,
The fawn
Yeah.
people.
like interacting with them. How was like that was interesting.
Yeah, you don't have much on them. Other than you get to meet a few of them.
When
But
you
they are-
actually
They are essentially the goblins of High Rock. I'll just leave it at that, honestly.
yeah.
I
When you
forgot about
actually-
them.
Yeah, no, when you interact with them, you do not trust them at all. They are there to play tricks on humanity. And that is pretty much their life.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, it was one of those when they added that beast race. It's a newer race, still got very little, but it is very interesting on how we've had to like deal with them. But
Yeah.
on to the dredge.
They also had the
Or not-
goblins and
the
weaklings.
Lamia. Yeah.
Here.
The Lamia and then the dredge.
Yeah, Lamia are interesting. They look to be exclusively female, from what we know from the games. They're found all over Tamriel. They're amphibious. Amphibious? Yeah, they're probably amphibious, I figure.
Yeah.
right,
Probably
they're
amphibious. We'll
And
put
they
that
can
out there.
speak Tamrielic and cast magic. So they're you can interact with them.
We actually have a friendly one.
There's a whole quest line around them in Coal Harbor.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah. They do have nests, so they look to be egg laying.
Mhm.
And as for Tamrielic lore, technically, they could survive off great snakes fertilizing the eggs.
Yeah, that's true, I guess. The wiki says they fertilize their own eggs, possibly. We're just not sure how they do it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
We don't see a male. We never
No.
see a male, pretty much.
No.
I'm
the
kind
only
of
thing you can
surprised that we have lamias in this game. Because while Battle Royale was AFK, we put the honorable mention of the nymph. Lamia was also one of those creatures that they said, you know what, let's just make them shirtless.
Yeah.
So I'm incredibly surprised that we even have these in game, first of all.
But you can also look more towards as a Medusa factor.
Or a Naga factor, because they do look incredibly like the Naga from World of Warcraft, which... fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't make a half snake, half human without people looking at the Naga from World of Warcraft, because that is how iconic that race is to that game.
Oh, yeah.
That is one of those races that you will be like, the hell is that? Oh dear God. Oh dear heavens. Okay, I am...
They're definitely a magic, and this one is weird. They still have archery and all that, but mainly magic and melee.
I'm just gonna put that in the lore talk area, because I don't want to say it, but... bloody hell. Thank you, Wiki.
Well,
I did not need to read that.
When was WoW? When was WoW's first year?
2004.
Oh, then Elder Scrolls Lamias predate WoW in August.
Yeah.
Because they were around Daggerfall.
And they were around a long time for both Naga and Lamias, because they were both basically just from D&D.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was reading the Daggerfall.
I know, but the best
Wiki.
way to phrase this is, and even in High Isles actually talked about it in some of the passing by of the sailors of Songs of Siren.
Yeah.
And the Sirens are actually Lamia.
Or Nereids.
Yep.
Nereids do it too.
Yeah. That's another one. The Nereids, they're weird. Because we deal with the sisters.
Mm-hmm.
So some of them are sentient and even passive, but most of them you run into the wild, they're all alone. Very
powerful, very aggressive,
very, very territorial. They like their one spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're basically just like, okay, you stay out of here, and we won't attack you. 9 times out of 10.
But they do not like Lamia.
No.
That was made clear in Arch Crescentian. They do not like Lamia.
I think we shall move on
to the drag.
Either the drag or the goblinkin. Either or.
Goblinkin's easy. Goblinkin and Elder Scrolls are just your copy-paste fantasy goblins and trolls. They have shaman.
True.
That's about it. I mean, they're...
But they can't be trolls. They don't sound like Jamaicans. look
They
over
are
at World of
useless.
Warcraft. They used to be very civilized when it comes to, like, at least... They're still civilized.
Yeah, no,
Just
they still have
more
society.
beast race
It's just,
civilized.
yeah.
They don't go past tribes at all.
And very few tribes trust any human whatsoever. Or elf, for that.
Unless
Are
you
very
befriend them. Like in the
aggressive
case of
humans.
playing Skyrim with the Reeklings.
Well, even in here, there's a quest where one of the spies is trying to befriend one of the goblin tribes to have them ransack the town. I think it's on the blue quest line.
That is also true. That is a quest. It's a very fun quest.
Oh yeah. You have to stop the Altmeri Dominion from trying to get the goblins to invade Daggerfall Covenant, I believe.
It's also important to bring up and the fact that all these beast races, especially the more sentient ones, they're not a single unit. Like, there are different goblin tribes and they war with each other. There are different Lamia tribes that war with each other. There are different Minotaur tribes and giant tribes. And
oh, yeah.
They're not a single unit. So a lot of the stuff we're mentioning is true for the generic majority, but not all of them. Because there are... Take a look at the Shadow Silk goblins in this game. They're a lot different than your normal goblins like the ones in Oradon. But goblins are enough of a threat, especially in the Daggerfall area and the Stormhaven area, that like goblin raids are a very typical thing that happens there. They're just your typical fantasy goblins. I mean,
There's also a couple of tribes of goblins that we're actually known to have them be friendly to at least a few races. Like, for example, Fungal Grove being one of them.
Yeah, Fungal Grove.
Where they were just straight up enslaved by both Dredge and a couple of orcs. Until we come in, clear them out, and they're just like, yeah, you get out of here, we're gonna make our own society.
Well, also, you guys also take into the fact with that clan, we took down their chieftain, and by taking down their chieftain, we asserted dominance, and therefore, we asserted power over the tribe.
Yeah.
That is also true.
So, but that's another thing that our goblins always have had in this. An assertion of dominance will bring them in to
might makes right, essentially.
Yeah.
And a lot of your primitive peoples, primitive beast races, are might by right, or right by might.
That should be working. Uh-oh. My audio just cut out. Hold on.
Yeah, on your end, I'm fine.
Hello? Alright. I need to fix my Discord. Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, look, he died. Oh, look, he's back.
Oh, that one too. Hold on. Ta-da. Does it work?
It's working.
Alright, everything works again. No. I took a break, came back, and then the audio decided to mute me for some reason. But,
Don't worry about it.
alright. But, yeah, no, as we were saying, the goblins, they get pretty interesting once you assert your dominance in some of the tribes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, we get to talk about Lig. That has to be the stupidest of stupid stuff when it comes to this lore.
Yeah. Dragon Beast race, they're semi-sentient, they don't talk. But they used to rule all of Tamriel. Because Molig Bol was a dragon. So that's a fun tidbit of history that I'm gonna let Admiral take care of.
How dare you? So there are two interpretations of this, where one, Lig, or the realm that they ruled, basically, is a alternate dimension. Where people actually thought it was a alternate dimension there for a second, because it's basically just Tamriel, but completely underwater. Which certainly was never a thing that we know of. It could have been all the way in the super dark past, even before the Dawn era, right when they created the actual world, before they put land there. And they just straight up attack anywhere. Like, we've seen them in Iliac Bay, we've seen them in Cyrodiil, Black Marsh. Anywhere that has water, they will just straight up attack. Because they kind of want to get more land back, even though they're a sea-based race.
Yeah, they're a little testy.
Like, we've seen them attacking all across Vardenfell, across the Ebonheart Pact. Like, there hasn't been a continent that hasn't been attacked, because they've probably attacked Akavir as well. Just because of the just because of the fact that they literally have a place called the 1,000 Monkey Isles. It's like a couple of other things here. There are sea dregs or water dregs and land dregs. Water dregs are weird. It's a kind of a 4-tentacled octopus. I guess a quadpus? I guess?
What do you reckon dreg tastes like? You think it tastes like snow crab?
Probably tastes like king crab. They're a bit more fancy. Gotta remember, they have those gigantic pinchers for at least water dreg.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say water drag tastes like... Depending on which part of the body you go for, maybe the tentacle might taste like calamari. That part might not taste the same, considering it's a completely different way of forming.
Yeah.
Because it's literally just an octopus on the bottom, and on the top is more crab people. So I would say probably half crab, half octopus when it comes to what different meats taste like, because we already have that in the real world, where every different part of a cow is different when it comes to how it tastes. It's probably like that. Land dreg, however, probably doesn't have that. And maybe the head and the brain, maybe, would probably taste different for land dreg, but that's about it. Though they are technically very carnivoric. We've seen them consume both man and mer flesh just to sustain themselves. And as he was saying earlier, the father dreg, or Molag Bal, is literally called the father dreg, which is interesting.
Now, you say they try to take back land.
In theory,
Right.
all of Tamriel used to be ruled by them.
Well,
So they're
no.
probably trying to
This is
take
probably
back over.
This is probably one of the weird theories that I'd bring up. We always never know what happened to the home island of the elves. What if the Dreg actually took it over completely?
Considering all of the high elves and everybody were kind of going flooding away from it, probably. And considering half of it sunk into the ocean, they could have just sunk half of it into the ocean, made them think that it would go all the way into the ocean, so they just left and took it as their own.
Because we've been looking for an answer to this question for a long time on which race could do it.
Which race could
entity
do
would
it?
do it.
The Malmer, the Sea Elves could have also probably did it. Because those mofos have some... No,
but
we have evidence that the Malmer might have actually left first. Because of their king that's still alive being exiled from there. So he's probably left before Aldemar sunk.
Yeah, that's why it's like...
My thing is, if the Malmer did sink Aldemar, they would be holding that crap over the High Elves to this day.
Yeah, that's the only problem about that. He could just secretly said, "Oh no, what happened over there?" and not done anything. But no, King Ordnum is a damn gloat monger. He would totally just say, "Hey, you remember when I sunk that island of yours? Oh yeah, I might go do it over there too. Don't worry."
Now the only ones that have actually worked positively in a positive relationship whatsoever with the Dreg is the Argonians.
Well, the Argonians would have made friends of them. They're easygoing to those races.
You've actually had them set up defensive perimeters using the Dreg in Morrowind by the Argonians doing stuff. This is where I think we should head into Argonian talk.
Yeah, that is true. They have done a lot of stuff with the Dreg when it comes to Morrowind.
Yeah. Argonians, so you know a little bit about them.
Oh yeah, a little bit, you say.
Probably one of the most interesting races in the game. They
technically come from another beast race.
Created from the history, at least in their lore. They were lizards that when they licked the hiss sap, the history gave them shape and form and life. So that's interesting. First, yeah, they are the lizard folk of the swamps of Blackmarsh. And they are a very diverse people. You got tribes of them that look completely different. Because you even have your Naga Argonians that are different. And then you have your Bright Throats, which are Argonians that have big throat sacks. You got your typical Argonian, which you think of when you hear Argonian and Elder Scrolls, but then you have your Nagas, your Bright Throats, you got the Vishkalil, which are one of the coolest tribes of Argonians. Their skin is so pale it's almost see-through, but they're powerful necromancers. Infertile, so they have to steal the eggs of other tribes and hatch them with necromancy. So they're like your Black Marsh boogeymen. And then, when you start getting into the interior of Black Marsh, you have even more tribes that are more attuned to the swamp. Because when you get to the interior of Black Marsh, you get to the point where human races can't survive. They can't. We don't even have the interior of Black Marsh in this game yet. We've kind of danced around it. So...
Yeah, no, I was walking around Blackwood the other day, and I encountered two Argonians talking to each other. And one of them told him to drink it, drink it, drink it. And the other Argonian drank from the cup. And
Yeah.
the other Argonian started laughing at him. Hey, you just drank tree sap.
Mhm.
His
Ha, ha,
sap
ha.
is basically a drug to them.
Yeah, but the problem is this wasn't his sap. This was just tree sap of Blackwood. And what happened was, a few seconds later, this Argonian started throwing up and then turned into an Argonian behemoth.
Huh. Huh.
So, apparently, consuming the wrong sap may have side effects.
From a point of view, I can see that being a thing. Just because of the fact, if you are born out of this one thing and your entire race cannot have this one thing and you have it anyway, then you're going to severely fuck yourself up. This is why we have people that are lactose intolerant, for example. Where if their body physically cannot handle it, they will start effing up to a extreme. Like,
Yeah.
we're lucky that lactose intolerant people just go get the shits. And not just, like, completely...
Hulk out like the Argonians
no,
do.
completely get sick over it.
But yeah, no, that was an interesting thing because I had been looking for something like behind Argonian
So they're
behemoths
possibly
and stuff like
allergic to all other types of sap except for the history sap. Kind of like how every other race in this game is actually poisoned by that sap.
that. Oh yeah. But no, even more with the Argonians, they can more of the beast of the swamp than anything else. Like, as for their tribes, like, they can actually work with Wamasu.
Yeah. Yeah, they got they have a lot of lore behind them, the Argonians. Expert skirmishers, guerrilla warfare tactic fighters, which is what has made them a nightmare to deal with.
They are an absolute nightmare to any race that wants to actually attack them, just because of the fact they are completely batshit insane.
Yeah.
Well, their deities are the History and Sithis.
That is fair.
And, you know, born under the right stars, you become a shadow scale, and you work for the Dark Brotherhood. So
Yeah.
it's one of those that this race is so intricate. And even now with the different, like you said, with all these newer tribes that have been shown, because for a long time you just didn't go into Black Marsh. Most empires haven't made it into Black Marsh this far.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think we can check them off, maybe. Unless you got anything more to add on them.
I mean, the only thing I would say is there are Argonians that are born away from the history. So that's how Argonians are born. They get their name on their naming day when they consume the sap of the history. There are Argonians that are born away from the Hist. Interesting thing about that is those Argonians cannot. So Argonians have a very unique way of talking to each other, other than just language. It's a lot of nonverbal as well. Argonians that have not consumed his sap and like on their naming day and everything don't understand other Argonians. They're more akin to just normal Tamrielic peoples. So that's a little tidbit too I would like to add as well. It's very rare for one to be born away from Black Marsh, but it is not impossible, and it has happened multiple times throughout history. You meet one in Oblivion, I'm pretty sure. Maybe one in Skyrim. I'm not 100% sure on that, though.
No.
In Skyrim, no. If I remember
Essentially,
correctly,
they're an
no.
Argonian that's not an Argonian. And a lot of them struggle with that. Because imagine being born into a race and not being able to identify with your race. So, that's that.
You get it rough. But they tend to be great healers and chemists.
They are incredibly magic wielding. They get a lot of people who can actually do magic, and are actually one of the more inclined races 9 times out of 10. Because even the history speakers have a lot of magic. And, almost every single village has a history speaker.
Yeah.
Also, usually disease resistant.
Well, they live in a marsh. They should be resistant at this point. Mostly because of the fact that everything we know on them makes them completely different than any other race, so it hopping from a human race or a mer race to Argonian is naturally going to be less effective, just because of the fact that it really does not work that way biologically.
Yeah.
So, of course, they're going to be they're going to be super resilient to any disease, even if you catch it. If you catch it, then who's to say they don't have white blood cells on crack?
Pretty much.
Up in there to make them even more resistant.
Yeah.
No.
We get to talk about the fun one. The one that I'm playing right now.
Off to the 2 moons. Joan and Jode. The cats. The Khajiit.
La Khajiit.
Yep. Khajiit are cool. They're okay. I accept them. That's okay.
Okay, Nord man.
We don't let them into our towns, though.
It's because of the fact a lot of the Nords are racist. You just tend not to be the racist Nord. Unless it's an elf.
It's because every Khajiit is a thief.
Hey, just because Ember cheers every time I go to a thief trove.
Woo! Yeah, you stole that thing out of his pocket. What was it? A single septum. Nice.
Oh, move.
You...
I moved. I swear I moved. I've been moving my camera.
That was your fault. Oh, and then and then there was one.
We swear we've been moving.
No, I'm still here. I just moved.
Yeah, but
You walked
me
away.
and Mark were ready. We were moving. The camera. Guess it didn't count.
It counted for me. I don't know what's up with yours.
I might have tabbed out when I did the Discord thing. Oh. Ah, I'm at my house. There's a lot of laughter.
While you're having fun, let me just go grab something to drink.
Travel back. Right when we started talking about the Khajiit. Boom. That is where the last couple episodes were filmed. Oh. We're about to have a Nord dancing on the table.
Yes. So, here, hold on. I gotta show you this new emote. Look at this. Amazing.
Did we get to the part where we have to talk about the Khajiit term for sex?
We haven't talked anything else. We waited for you.
Damn it.
I was gonna grab more coffee as well, since I lagged out. But I'll wait. We could just talk about the Khajiit. And all the new lore that's come out recently with the Elsewhere. Because we did not have that
Yeah,
much
that is
lore
true.
before that.
We got a bunch of
A lot of
books from
these-
there.
A lot of these beast races did not have as much lore as previously.
They really went super hard on filling in backstory when it comes to whenever we get a race-based expansion or DLC to this game. Because we had not a lot of lore on the Bretons, and then we gained a lot.
Oh yeah.
And I mean a lot, a lot.
Now, with the Khajiit, we're up to how many different tribes of Khajiits have been?
Are you talking about the main ones, or like all the other offshoots? Because there's 16 main ones, but there's a bunch of
16
offshoot
kingdoms.
tribes. Yeah.
Yeah. They worship the moon and some of the deities, but they believe the deities are Khajiits or cats.
Also, with that new lore that we got from the expansion that gave us Elsewhere, we actually did get the entire language of Khajiits. And it's pretty thick language, too, when it comes to the actual... how many words there are, too. Like, we have an absolute shit ton.
And, when it comes to, like, naming and stuff like that, the naming, like, with Argonians, they usually have spaced out names, but with a Khajiit, they usually have dashes between their names. They're like,
Other way around. The Argonians have dash names. The Khajiits have apostrophes.
Yeah, apostrophe. There you go.
But the Khajiit names actually mean stuff in the Khajiit tongue, though.
Yeah.
Like,
and they usually finish with their title, right?
Yeah. Like Razum Dar. Razum is his name, and then Dar is his title. That's like a... Re is like a title for like an elder or respected elder, and Dar is like a sneak thief or sneak like spy. Then there's Joe, which is like wizard. So they have their name and then they get a title, and you can't give yourself the title. That's not how that works. So that's how Khajiit naming kind of works, yeah. They also say yes after everything.
So yes is a part of their language, eh?
So you would say that it is an integral part of their language, yes. Yeah, their speaking cadence is different. They kind of mirror the real world. Each of the Elder Scrolls playable races kind of mirror a real world group of people. If I were to say a Khajiit mirrored any, it would probably be like the Gypsies. That would be my closest real world actuation to them.
And they live in the desert, and it was only like in their history up until they formed the kingdoms, they were nomadic.
Yeah. They didn't have. There's still a lot that travel. All the Khajiit
Yeah, there
traders
is
and
a
stuff.
lot that like to travel and still be nomadic. When that's a part of somebody's culture for such a long time, it will naturally seep through into the kingdom stage, whether they like it or not.
I mean, the most nomadic one, or nomadic family, should we say, is Ma'it, son of Ma'it, son of Ma'it, son of Ma'it.
Maik is a time anomaly.
No, actually, he is.
This mofo just loves to name his children after him, have a bunch of children, and then just send them across the entire world at this point.
So there is a rumor there's one time he reversed his name.
There is a rumor that he's also a Daedric god. What's your point?
But he is the most nomadic Khajiit of all. He is everywhere in Tamriel. He is proof of, like, they go everywhere. And you will always find Khajiit traders.
Yeah, there's... You can't find them. You even find them. They get enslaved by the Dark Elves, and there's even Khajiit traders in Telvanus. Like...
I mean, okay, Telvanus is a different story, just because of the fact they don't do that much enslaving.
Yeah.
Because it's mostly the super weak people that get enslaved there.
Yeah. I would like to, in one of these lore talks, just do a whole talk over the houses. because
Oh,
there's
yeah,
a
definitely.
lot
Yeah,
to be said
yeah,
for the
no,
Telvanni.
we'll go, like, like, we're doing just as brief rundown of the races right now, and then we'll do a full, like, in-depth of how, like, we'll go
The
over
first
each,
4
like,
episodes are supposed to be that.
yeah.
Then we have the next 2 episodes that we already kind of decided on, which would be Alessia's Slave Revolt and the Atmore and stuff with Yzumar. We have somebody asking us for Valenwood and Grotwood lore, so we could talk about the Green Pact more and all of the wild hunts that have happened. Which, again, we can only count it on one hand, which, oh dear God.
But, yeah. But a little bit more on the Khajiit. The different types of Khajiit.
There are a total of, I think, like 16 types to match
the
the
different
kingdoms.
moon phases.
Yeah.
The moon
And
phases.
considering we have 2 moons, that will double that.
Yeah, because when one is waxing, the other's in waning. And then it's like, yeah, so there's a lot of different kinds of Khajiits. They are beast folk, but they have their sentience, so they are an actual race.
But their sizes, but the I can't say the name. The Raja Khajiit, the big ones.
There are 16, and then there is actually a 17th one that is exclusively towards the main.
Yeah, because there can only ever be one main.
It's apparently supposed to be a 3rd hidden moon that aligns up every single time the main dies.
Yeah, there's never 2 mains born, which is interesting how that works.
And they're very long-lived as well.
Yeah, well, they're the cultural and
interesting with
wise
how
leaders.
Like,
with how the yellow storyline goes in this game, because you have twins.
Yes, yeah.
well, twins could be another case.
No, twist and you have
One
twins
could
twist in
be-
the main hood.
Yeah, you have twin mains.
It could be that, or because the universe straight up just does not allow 2 mains 9 times out of 10, it could be one is born as a normal human-like Khajiit, and then the other one is a main.
Well, spoilers if you haven't played ESO for you guys. Under this circumstance where the 2 mains are born, the one that does ascend to manhood, the other one actually falls to Dremora.
Yeah, Lorcus.
And becomes Dremora and is locked away forever. And it is one of the sadder stories as well.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Because you have the 2 sisters, and one ascends to main. But, yeah. But, most Khajiits have, great physical damage, great sneak ability, but the ones that we got introduced to in elsewhere were very interesting. Were the little ones, the magical ones.
Elfies.
Yes, the Elfie.
Be mistaken for a house cat. If they didn't have magical prowess that rivals even some of the greatest mages in Tamriel.
Yeah, because they're so small that it's literally just more concentrated magic. And they're also very known for wanting to drink beer. Because why
Yeah.
not? There's one that I have in my house that will constantly burp and say, "Bring more mead!" So they're very Nord-like for some reason.
So I did run into one during the Witches Festival that was very, very positive that she would become one of the witch mothers.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
Which she was a all black Alfie, which I mean, I give her credit. You know, if she's not gonna be a witch mother, she's gonna be around there, no problem.
They'll be like, "Oh, cool, black cat. What are you talking about me?" Ah,
But yeah, and yeah, the they have all little subclasses of these little different Khajiit forms as well. But like I said, we'll probably go into that on our next in depth of each.
Yeah.
yeah. Whenever we get to talk about the actual in-depth stuff about Khajiits.
Oh, any questions or anything like that? Any of the races, let us know.